Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. We've got a little bit of a break from the heat today, not much of one, but the last week or so it has been between 92 and 95, which is nothing for you guys down south, but it's pretty warm for this Pennsylvania kid here. And today I think the high is 87, so a little bit of a break, but not much. And we've got to get through the last little bit of our firewood poles that we had taken out of our woods 2 years ago. I've got a couple of log trucks coming. It'll be the first time I've bought any triaxle loads of logs in a number of years because we had probably 70 cords of wood taken out of our woods. And this is the last of it right here, what you see behind me. Got to get through all this to make room for the new truck coming in. One thing that this heat wave has made abundantly clear was a design flaw when we put up this building. And that was that the opening where all of my firewood production is facing directly east, which means that I get morning sun in here until about noon or 1 in the afternoon. So, I thought I'd be under a roof making firewood in the shade, and I did not account for the morning sun coming in underneath this roof. Part of the problem is that that ceiling is so tall, but we're out of the rain, we're out of the snow, but we're not out of the sun, which is the biggest challenge we're gonna have here today. Now you might say, why not just wait until the evening to make wood? Well, the problem is I can't just go sit inside in the air conditioning until 2 in the afternoon and not get anything done. I still want to come down here and get something done, so we're just going to go ahead and suffer through, get the rest of these logs processed up, and make some room for a new triaxle load. All right, 18 baskets of wood and 3 drenched t-shirts later, and we got all those logs processed up and cleared a spot for the new logs to come in. And that is one thing that I hate about making firewood this time of the year, is you're constantly changing your clothes to try to stay dry, with the exception of one article of clothing, and that is today's sponsor, Camel City Mill socks. These socks are made with Ironside merino wool, which helps to keep your feet cool and dry in the summertime and warm in the wintertime. Now, I have caught some flack over the years for wearing Crocs on the job site when I should, by all rights, have on my steel-toed work boots. And it's not because I'm an idiot or a blatant disregard for safety that I wear these. The reason is because my work boots are waterproof, which does help when you're working in muddy or wet environments, keeping moisture out, but what it also does is traps moisture in. If your feet sweat a lot, the problem that I was running into was I was actually starting to get athlete's foot if I would wear these 2 or 3 days in a row. Hence why I opted to wear Crocs when I had an idea that I wasn't going to be smashing any of my toes, but I needed better ventilation because these were trapping moisture in when I was wearing regular cotton socks. Enter Camel City Mill socks. Now I no longer have to choose between smashed toes or athlete's foot. These two together, I've got dry feet and protected toes. These socks are made 100% in America with American wool. Now, don't get me wrong, these socks are not cheap, but they do come with a 10-year warranty, meaning if you blow a hole out in them, they will send you a free pair. I usually wear out a pair of regular cotton socks after about a year, so if you figure the fact that this will be good for 10 years and if they blow out, you get a replacement, it ends up being cheaper in the end. And if cost is your biggest concern, right now Camel City Mills is running their 4th of July special, one of their largest sales of the year. You can now get these for 30% off. So if you've seen these out there and you thought about getting them but thought they were too much, right now is the time to get yourself a pair, try them out, and see if they're the real deal. I will leave a link in the description below for the 4th of July sale. Again, 30% off, get yourself a pair. All right, there we go. 2 triaxle loads of logs delivered and ready to rock and roll. I can't tell you how excited I am to be able to run some fresh green material through. If you compare that to the kind of stuff that I've been running through this processor, it's amazing we were able to get any wood made at all. This stuff looks way better, longer straight poles. One thing that I am gonna have to do, these are all 25-foot poles, and the max that this log deck can handle without having the logs teeter off the end is about 20 to 22 feet or so. I believe from the saw to the end of this runner here on the log deck is about 12 feet. So that's kind of where you got to keep more than 50% on this side than this side. I need to build some kind of log deck extension here. I'm thinking something just like a big sawhorse to put on the end there, so that if the logs do start to teeter down a little bit, it'll catch it and keep it from falling off. That's something we got to figure out before we start making logs. But I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I was ordering 2 loads, and there is a difference between these 2 loads. This load here is called a firewood pole load, and it is significantly cheaper than this load over here that is considered a scrag pole load. And if you look at them side by side, you'll kind of see why. Smaller diameter. This is supposed to be a little bit more lenient as far as how crooked they are, but these are all pretty straight. I wouldn't consider any of these to be crooked, but larger diameter on these logs here. You can tell there's just a significantly fewer amount of logs than here. Now in terms of pricing, $950, $1250. Higher quality logs, there should be more wood in this scrag load. I've talked to Matt from Firewood Guy. He has bought both and he's done a couple of tests. He said he usually gets between 6 and 7 cords. I think he said he actually gets it down to the decimal. He said between 6.8 and 7.3 cords out of a firewood pole load. And he said he's usually getting somewhere in the ballpark of 9 cords, just because the bigger logs create more wood. There's less air gaps on the truck when you load it up. So he said he's done this test probably a dozen or half a dozen times, 6 times. And obviously the larger sample size you get, the more accurate results you're going to get. So we're going to go ahead and do this test a 7th time. I want to break down the cost. You know, obviously your cost per cord is going to be cheaper with the cheaper load, right? With $950 for a load versus $1250, even though this one has more wood in it. But what I want to find out is, do you make that back up on the back end in efficiency? Can we make 9 cords of wood faster than we can make 7 cords? Because, you know, if you think you got to run these skinny poles through, the cycle time of cutting and splitting is going to be almost the same as cutting and splitting these larger ones, but you're going to be getting 8 or 10 pieces of wood out versus 2 or 4 out of the small poles. So I think we'll be able to make just as much wood, if not more, faster with the larger wood. Anyways, guys, that's what we're going to be working on here in the next couple of videos. It is starting to rain. I'm going to go ahead and get inside. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.